Most rookie quarterbacks have to fight for every second of attention. They grind through seasons, rack up stats, and pray a brand even notices their name. But for Shedeur Sanders, all it took was 60 minutes, one preseason game, no Pro Bowls, no MVPs. Just one electric night under the lights, and Nike moved faster than the NFL itself. While general managers were still debating if he was even ready for a QB2 spot, Nike dropped the kind of deal usually reserved for champions. This wasn't a gamble on potential. This was a calculated strike, a bet that the future of football had just stepped onto the field, and they wanted his name stitched into the swoosh before anyone else even saw it coming. But here's the twist: this move didn't come out of nowhere. Nike wasn't reacting to a highlight reel. They were pulling the trigger on something they'd been quietly preparing for years. And when the moment came, they didn't hesitate. Because what Shedeur did that night wasn't just football, it was the birth of a brand. Long before Shedeur Sanders laced up for his first NFL snap, Nike already had him in their sights. This wasn't some last-minute endorsement scramble, it was a blueprint in motion. Back in his Colorado days, while the rest of the country was still arguing if he could make the leap from college ball to the pros, Nike made history by signing him as their first ever NIL football athlete. That move turned heads in the sports business world, but for Nike, it was just step one. They didn't just slap his name on a shoe. They outfitted him in gear no other player in the NCAA had: exclusive designs, unreleased colorways, and one particularly bold statement piece, the revival of the Air DT Max 96. The same cleats made legendary by his father, Deion "Primetime" Sanders. It was more than a throwback, it was a signal. A passing of the torch wrapped in leather and gold. Other brands saw a promising young QB. Nike saw the continuation of a dynasty, one that could merge nostalgia with a new era of swagger. They weren't just betting on athletic ability, they were betting on a story only Shedeur could tell. And when August 8th rolled around, that story exploded onto the national stage. August 8th wasn't supposed to be a headline date. Shedeur Sanders was buried deep on the Browns' depth chart, penciled in for a handful of low-stakes preseason snaps before fading back into the shadows. But the moment he stepped under center, everything changed. From his first drive, he played like someone who didn't get the memo that this was just preseason. He threaded a perfectly placed touchdown between two defenders, scrambled for clutch first downs when the pocket collapsed, and delivered throws that looked like they belonged to a 10-year vet, not a rookie in his first NFL action. Every snap carried a calm, unshakable confidence like he'd been here before. Then came the moment. The now iconic wrist flex. One flick of the arm, watch catching the stadium lights, and the crowd erupted. Cameras caught it from every angle, and within hours, the clip was everywhere: memes, highlight reels, sports pages, coast to coast. It was more than a celebration. It was a statement. By the time the final whistle blew, Shedeur hadn't just played well, he'd ignited a cultural moment. And while fans were still replaying the touchdown passes, Nike was already moving to make sure that image, the quarterback with the gold watch and the unshakable swagger, belonged to them. Some players celebrate a score. Shedeur Sanders turned his into a cultural trademark. The wrist flex wasn't rehearsed, wasn't branded, and wasn't approved by a marketing team. It was pure instinct. But in today's NFL, instinct can go viral faster than any stat line. Within minutes, the clip had escaped the football bubble, jumping to TikTok, X, Instagram Reels, and every meme page with a sports following. It wasn't just fans who copied it. College athletes, NBA players, rappers, and influencers started posting their own Shedeur Flex clips. Sports talk shows replayed it on loop, debating whether it was confidence or cockiness. The truth? It was both, and that's exactly why it caught fire. It wasn't manufactured swagger. It was a moment of ownership, a declaration that he wasn't just in the NFL, he belonged there. Nike didn't waste a second. The next morning, their social feeds lit up with the same clip, overlaid with a 5-word bombshell. Only a matter of time. No logo needed, no product shot required, just Shedeur, mid-flex, and the implication that his rise was inevitable. Overnight, that one celebration transformed into a marketing pillar, a rallying cry, and a visual cue the entire sports world now connected to his name. But the play itself, the way he earned that celebration, was just as telling, and what happened on the field that night made it clear why Nike had been watching him so closely. Nike's timing was ruthless. Hours after Shedeur's debut, while highlight reels were still bouncing across sports networks and social media, their marketing machine roared to life. No flashy commercials, no long-winded press releases. Just a simple, perfectly calculated 5-word statement. Only a matter of time. Those 5 words, paired with a still frame of Shedeur mid-wrist flex, did something that even the best press conference soundbites can't. It told an entire story in one glance. There was no need to say what was only a matter of time. Every fan, every critic, every rival player who saw it knew exactly what Nike meant. His rise, his dominance, his place at the top. It was more than a tagline, it was a declaration of inevitability, and by dropping it before the NFL could even fully process what they'd seen on the field, Nike positioned themselves as not just a supporter of Shedeur Sanders, but as the first believer. They weren't waiting for the league's approval. They were planting their flag in his story and daring the rest of the sports world to catch up. The campaign exploded instantly. Sports pages reposted it. Influencers used the image as a reaction meme. Fans printed it onto shirts and hoodies before Nike even dropped official merch. In group chats, "Only a matter of time" became the go-to reply for anyone hyping Shedeur's potential. It was short enough to fit in a tweet, bold enough to stir conversation, and clean enough to become a hashtag. But here's what most people missed. Nike didn't come up with that tagline overnight. This was part of a preloaded strategy they'd been sitting on, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The deal, the designs, the ad concepts, everything had been lined up since his Colorado days. All they needed was one spark to light the fuse. And Shedeur's August 8th debut wasn't just a spark, it was a full-blown detonation. Behind the scenes, Nike's creative team moved like a special ops unit. Graphics teams had the visuals locked and ready. Social managers coordinated the exact drop time to hit peak engagement hours. Influencer contacts were fed the image early so it could flood timelines from multiple directions at once. By the time the general public saw the post, it already felt like the story of the night, no matter what else had happened around the league. And that's the genius of it. The NFL preseason is packed with rookies trying to make their mark, but most of their moments are swallowed up by the churn of daily sports news. Nike's 5-word campaign didn't just make Shedeur's debut stand out, it made it unforgettable. It reframed the conversation from good rookie performance to "we're witnessing a future star in real time." For Shedeur, the move was priceless. Every time the image resurfaced, it reinforced the idea that his trajectory wasn't up for debate, it was destiny. For Nike, it was an early investment already paying cultural dividends. The wrist flex wasn't just a celebration anymore. It was property. It was branding. It was their trademark without needing to trademark it. And just like that, Shedeur Sanders wasn't just an NFL rookie. He was a walking Nike campaign. Every time he stepped on the field, every glance at his watch, every clutch throw was now an extension of that 5-word promise. The beauty and danger of that kind of branding is that it lives far beyond a single game. It sets expectations. It builds a legend before the legend is fully written. And Nike, more than any brand on earth, knows exactly how to turn that into gold. But Shedeur's story wasn't just unfolding on Instagram feeds and ad campaigns, it was playing out, play by play, on the field. And what he showed in those snaps proved Nike was betting on more than just a viral moment. Hype can carry an athlete for a week, maybe a month, but without real on-field substance, it burns out fast. That's where Shedeur Sanders separated himself from the flash-in-the-pan crowd. In just a few preseason snaps, he showed the kind of football IQ most rookies can't fake. While first-year quarterbacks often lock onto their primary read or panic under pressure, Shedeur looked like he was playing with the cheat codes turned on. He wasn't just reacting, he was anticipating. Reading man coverage, spotting defensive mismatches, adjusting protections, all without that frantic rookie energy that usually screams, "I'm still figuring this out." One moment stood out above the rest. 3rd and long, pocket collapsing, defense bringing heat. Most young QBs either force a throw or eat the sack. Shedeur, he scanned, spotted the defense, had lost contain, and took off toward the sideline. Picked up the first down, slid, popped back up like it was nothing. Not flashy, but it was the kind of situational awareness coaches obsess over. Then there was the bootleg. Rolling left, flipping his hips mid-stride, and firing a rope across the field between 2 defenders. That's the kind of throw veterans warn you not to attempt unless you've been in the league long enough to know exactly what you're doing. High risk, high reward, and Shedeur made it look routine. The ball didn't just get there, it arrived on time, in stride, with precision. It wasn't lost on analysts either. By the next morning, segments were running with phrases like veteran-level composure and already sees the field like a starter. And while coaches broke down the film, Nike took notes. Every sharp read, every pocket adjustment, every perfectly timed release was more than just football, it was brand ammunition. Because that's the rare sweet spot. It's one thing to have athletic ability, it's another to have a personality that connects with fans. But when you combine those with elite instincts under pressure, you get something nearly impossible to manufacture, a player who already looks, acts, and feels like the face of a franchise. And that's exactly what Shedeur brought to the table. On the field, he was unshakable. Off the field, he was magnetic. The same poise that let him pick apart coverages also made him just as comfortable in front of a camera or in a viral clip. He could slide from an in-game 2-minute drill to a post-game TikTok trend without breaking character. For Nike, that's the jackpot. They weren't just signing a promising athlete, they were partnering with someone who could own a moment, whether it was a touchdown drive in the fourth quarter or a perfectly timed meme. And in today's NFL, that combination is rarer than ever. But Shedeur's edge didn't come from marketing, training, or media coaching. It was rooted in something deeper, his legacy. And Nike was more than ready to make that part of the story. In the NFL, legacy can be both a blessing and a curse. For Shedeur Sanders, it's a weapon. From the moment he picked up a football, he carried the weight of one of the most electrifying names in sports history, Deion Primetime Sanders. Most sons of legends spend their careers trying to escape the shadow. Shedeur? He's figured out how to make it part of his spotlight. Nike understood that from day one. This wasn't just another rookie signing, it was a generational story waiting to be told. When they laced Shedeur up in the Air DT Max 96 cleats his father made famous, it wasn't about nostalgia for nostalgia's sake, it was symbolism. A merging of two eras, Primetime's dominance, and Shedeur's modern-day swagger. Older fans saw those cleats and felt the pull of the 90s when Deion shut down receivers and lit up highlight reels. Younger fans, many too young to remember that era, saw something different. A quarterback who looked like them, talked like them, and played like a seasoned vet while still dropping TikTok-ready swagger. That's a cultural bridge you can't fake. And it's not just the bloodline, it's the persona. Shedeur doesn't just play quarterback, he plays it with a rhythm. Calm under pressure, calculated in his movements, but with just enough showmanship to make you lean forward in your seat. His watch flex celebration wasn't just a moment, it was the same kind of signature his dad used to leave after a punt return or a pick six. Except this time, it was filtered through the lens of Gen Z culture, where a single clip can spark a global trend before the game even ends. Nike leaned into it hard. After his debut, they dropped the special edition white and gold cleats not just as flashy gear, but as a symbol of what Shedeur represents, a dynasty reimagined. The colorway wasn't random. Gold for Primetime's flash. White for Shedeur's cool precision. Together, they told a story without a single word. The cultural response was instant. Hip-hop artists shouted him out. College kids were flexing their watches in dorm hallways. Even sports fans who didn't care about the Browns were reposting his highlights because the vibe was just different. Shedeur wasn't an NFL star yet, but he was already a cultural one. And here's the thing, this crossover between sports and culture is exactly what brands dream about. It's what turns a player from good quarterback into global figure. It's why Nike wasn't waiting for rings or Pro Bowls. They saw the potential for Shedeur to dominate not just on the scoreboard, but in the cultural scoreboard too. But as bold as this branding move was, it wasn't just about making history, it was about changing the rules. And what Nike did next sent a shockwave through the industry. Nike's move with Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a bold endorsement, it was a shot across the bow at the entire sports marketing industry. For decades, rookie deals followed the same formula. Prove yourself on the field, rack up accolades, then maybe a major brand would come calling. Nike flipped that playbook on its head. By investing in Shedeur before the NFL had even decided his role, they shifted the criteria for a marketable athlete. It's no longer just about stats or rings, it's about narrative, influence, and cultural resonance. In other words, you can be the story before you're the starter. This is dangerous for the old guard. If brands start valuing personality and cultural pull over years of production, it could fast-track endorsement deals for athletes who understand the media game as well as they understand their playbook. It also means NFL teams might lose control of a player's image before they've even taken a regular season snap. For Shedeur, it's leverage. For Nike, it's a masterclass in early investment. And for the league, it's a wake-up call. The next generation of stars might be crowned by brands before they're ever validated by the scoreboard. Shedeur Sanders isn't just playing football, he's playing the game within the game. Every snap, every celebration, every headline is part of a larger story being written in real time. And while critics still debate whether he's earned all this attention, the truth is simple. In today's NFL, perception shapes opportunity just as much as performance. Nike saw that before anyone else. They didn't just sign a quarterback, they signed a movement, a blend of old-school legacy and new-school culture. In doing so, they may have just redefined how brands choose their athletes and how athletes choose to build their careers. The real question isn't whether Shedeur will succeed, it's what happens to the NFL landscape if he does. Because if his rise proves that swagger, narrative, and cultural connection can outweigh experience, the league's next generation of stars could be forged in marketing meetings just as much as on practice fields. And for Shedeur, that means one thing. Every game from here on out isn't just about winning, it's about proving he can own both the scoreboard and the spotlight. Because when you wear Primetime's name, there's no such thing as staying in the shadows.